started was a bit random. I got myself into the sport. I used to do athletics, so I was part of an athletics club. I would train 4 times a week with that. But I had loads of like shin splints and heart syndrome, all this, in different injuries. I didn't want to find a real job. And at Bath University, there was lots of different national sports. It was a training centre for a lot of different sports. So randomly, I started in decathlon because I had a passion of horses, and I was like, wicked, a sport that you could actually ride some horses in. So I started on that, and luckily really picked up. I was instantly, actually quite good at shooting and fencing. So they were like, right, low level of funding, we'll have you straight on the team. At the same time, I got chatting to some people in the gym. There was a big bunch of big, beefy men. I won't lie, I was attracted to their legs. I was like, okay, they can squat, they don't miss leg day. Who are they? What are they? And then there were some slightly smaller, skinnier people. They were the bobsleigh skeleton team. So for us, and in Great Britain, we don't have an ice track. The only thing we have is at Bath University is a start track. And that is basically about 80 metres long. It's kind of on train tracks, a different kind of sled slots on, and it's just so that biomechanically we can practice that bent over position of sprinting, pushing a sled, holding on with one hand. I literally joined in, went and had a go, did a few sprints, actually managed to beat the girls that were already doing it, and went out to do a World Push Championships in Holland, in Groningen. And ironically, actually, when I was doing my 400, my start wasn't actually the best. Bent over, pushing the sled, I was actually quicker than what I was if I just ran on my own. It's a bit weird, but anyway. So after that, the performance director at the time, who was a guy called Simon Simpson, he basically said, look, you've got the start, there's something about you. Go and join an army ice camp that was happening in a few weeks' time in Norway, in Lillehammer. It cost like $2,000 to go and do it, it's 2 weeks. I was like, oh crap, stuff that, I'm gonna have to find this money. My parents never had loads of money. We were always very much, if you wanted to do something, whether that was buy your first pet hamster or whatever, you find your own money. So I changed my degree because I needed a student loan to pay for my first few weeks on ice. So I missed Freshers Week, I missed the whole point of going to uni because actually I didn't really want to go. I went off and did this army ice camp and absolutely hated it. And the only thing that kept going was the fact that I didn't want to look like a wimp in front of all these army girls and guys. And there was me, this little skinny 17-year-old. And yeah, I kind of wanted to show face. But then weirdly, it's that addiction. I don't want to hit 10 walls, I only want to hit 9, I only want to hit 8. I want to get a bit quicker, I want to get faster. And then you get on the team and again, there was no money, there was no nothing, we just sort of travelled around. But there's that slight addiction in you that creeps in. And then I used to love the summer training. I loved being at the gym. Can I lift heavier? Can I get faster? So I don't really ever remember a time when it was like, I dream of being an Olympic champion. It was just, I dream of being better than I was last week. I never won a race before Vancouver. I was always training champion, so my coach dubbed me training champion. I always broke track records, I always had unofficial track records, and yet on race day I never seemed to be able to do it. And it used to get to this massive frustration of why can't I do it on race day? And yeah, bottom line is that I actually never really enjoyed race day because there was so much pressure. I told myself I had to win it because I had it in my training and amongst other things and lots of other stuff. The sport of skeleton and I guess winter sports on a whole, especially in Great Britain, we haven't really ever had the money. And when I first started skeleton back in 2002, it was rough and ready and raw. So my sled, for example, it was a man's sled, which means that the weight differences were very different. I remember having to go to welding workshops in Calgary. I remember having to literally drill holes out of my sled because I was 1 kilo, 1.5 kilos too heavy to be able to race and I would have got disqualified. Things that you would never in a million years do now. Every 100th of a second for us counts. And I've won and lost World Junior Championships by 1/100th of a second to a German on a German ice track, which I will never forget. We have to think outside the box. Where can we find those 1%? We knew the Canadians were racing hundreds and hundreds of runs down their new ice track, and we knew when we turned up at the Olympics we'd have 6 runs to learn the track. We'd all raced at it the year before. You have to have one race, and I knew it suited me. I'd got a silver medal in the World Cup race the 1 year before. Most sports get given an extra bit of money from UK Sport for research and development. So for skeleton, we took it to the next level and we worked out our individual optimal body temperatures. And I remember I had to get mine to 39 point something. I literally had a mountain survival blanket, foil, tucked inside my salopettes and my winter coat. I knew I had 20 seconds to take not all of my clothes off, most of my clothes off, whip it all off, to be sprinting, to be running and to be lying on my sled before I lost that optimal body temperature. All our salopettes had zips down the side, so I got my sewing machine out, I put Velcro so I could whip it off quicker. For me, I live my life on a leg press machine because I have a lot of damaged discs in my back. So the leg press machine in the gym was my best friend. I used to have good quads, good glutes. In our sport, it's all about your hip flexors, your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, powering off the blocks. And I knew I had to do 3 sets of 3. I would then have my own natural testosterone peak. That could come to 100th of a second, and that could be first or second or third. So we'll go back to Sir Clive Woodward. He was our chef de mission at the time in Vancouver, and we had already recce'd that the gym in the Olympic Village in Vancouver didn't have a leg press. So he had flown out for me a leg press machine. Another thing that we used to do is go down to Southampton, and not all athletes decided to do it because, to be fair, well, on the way back, freezing cold, you'd be on Lemsips for a week, blasted winds over you for several hours, about 80 miles per hour. It was not pleasant. With this wind chill, we'd get really stiff and really sore. So it was a kind of way up of, actually, I'm going to suffer for the next week in my training. However, is it going to be worth it? And for us, if I was to all teach you now to lie on a sled, I would tell you to put your feet together, put your legs together, your hands by your side, you'd be holding onto the saddle. I tell you to roll your shoulders in, pretend you're a sack of potatoes and tilt your head like you're a turtle. Now in these wind tunnels we worked out, some of us are a little bit quicker if our legs are about 2 inches apart. Some of us were rolling our shoulders too much and it created like an air gap down through our shoulders. The guys who did a bit too many beach weights, not cool, actually weren't very aerodynamic. The girls with the bigger booties, I know doing your booty workout these days, having a big butt is all really cool. But actually, yeah, one of the girls who did have a good old butt on her actually was really quick. All these tiny, tiny little things. And we managed to work out, our absolute perfect body position per person, which then led us to find the best materials for our suits. There's a whole rule book. You can't use plasticated stuff, you can't use rubberized, all these different things. We found a material that was better than their material, and we said that we were going to make up some suits. We also built in ridges on our helmets, which actually in the end about 8 or 10 different nations tried to disqualify me. We would take air, ice, humidity, temperatures when we turn up to a track, and I'd jot it all down. I mean, mine, again, now it's all computerised on graphs. I was very old-fashioned. I just had a notebook, and I had all these notebooks over the years. I would just write it down. I'd flick through year on year. Okay, it's 8 a.m. I'm on a track in East Germany, Altenburg. Yeah, -2. The ice is -7, and the humidity is 60%. And I would just write it down. I'd write down what runners I had chosen and then how they performed, and you'd have your timesheet. You look at if the ice is frosty, is it wet, is it soft, if you scratch your nail on it, does it come off a little bit? So we had just started designing our own sleds in the build up towards Vancouver. I liked it, it worked, and we hadn't quite started making our own runners actually, but we just started doing them. And so I got given these, which on paper and scientifically and in the labs they said would be quick, and I put them on. I did a rundown, a track that I know very well, Lake Placid. I've won World Championship medals on it. You don't crash anymore. You crash in your first few years. You don't crash after 8-10 years of sliding. I had a major crash coming out of a certain tricky corner on this track 2 weeks out of the Olympics. It shook me up, it broke part of the sled, it smashed my helmet up, I was battered and bruised and was just like, oh my word. The runners kind of basically stuck in a certain line, and once you were coming out of the corner, if you were at the perfect angle, spot on. If you weren't quite at the perfect angle, I couldn't quite steer them enough and you'd get sort of almost stuck in the ice and you couldn't move. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to go to the most fastest, dangerous track in the world at the Olympics. And I just had to put my foot down and say, no, I'm going to stick to my good old favourite runners that are a bit battered, a bit old. I polish them up every single day. I make them nice. I know how they work. These are the ones that I'm going to use at the Olympic Games. I got up to about 92 miles per hour on the Olympic track. Unfortunately, a luge athlete had died a few days beforehand in a freak accident, but it also kind of reminded us that it can go wrong. Everything can go wrong in your performance, in your technology, in the weather. Our race was actually ironically delayed because the sun was shining on the top of the track. All I cared about was that the pub next door to my house where I lived at the time was still open. It was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I remember texting through to my brother and sister saying, I'm so sorry, please tell the pub landlord to keep it open, because they were having like a little bit of a party gathering to watch me. But the ironic thing is that actually all that warm-up, all that potentiation actually went down the toilet. As an athlete, you always have your top plan A, and then I will always have my other plans if things go wrong. And it was a massive confidence thing for me, knowing that I've done everything possible, and actually to just go out and try and enjoy the race.